Is Poland planning on standing up a Ukrainian brigade in Poland? But is this enough to stop the Russian offensive? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, this is really interesting, actually. Let's see if we can get the Google Translate here to do its thing. This is from a Polish news source, and this is reporting that. Please stop. This is reporting that the Ukrainian president has met with Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, and the politician signed an extensive Ukrainian-Polish security agreement. This involves protection not just for critical infrastructure, civil defense, intelligence, and cybersecurity, but it actually calls for the standing up of and training of a Ukrainian legion within Poland. This is a volunteer legion that would enable Ukrainian citizens or dual citizens in Poland to take part in the defense of Ukraine. The Ukrainian Legion will be trained in Poland, equipped and armed by Poland. Every Ukrainian citizen that wants to join the Legion will, of course, be contracted with the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, this itself is an unusual step, right? And this is likely part of a larger Ukrainian effort to gather more manpower, particularly among people who have fled Ukraine to escape the war. And a lot of them are still in Poland, right? That simply makes sense. Poland is a country that one of the largest borders that borders Ukraine most extensively. And so the hope is that by offering them, hey, it's going to be a unit trained by the much more professional Polish military, equipped by the Poles, that it's going to be a more professional formation. It will also likely be seen as a bit more, a bit safer than becoming a regular Ukrainian conscript. And that is what a lot of Ukrainian soldiers, according to a number of interviews, have said that they're worried about, or Ukrainian men. They say, listen, I don't want to serve in a unit that is like a conscript unit. I don't want to serve with other conscripts who don't want to be there, who may be far less motivated. I'd rather serve in a unit with volunteers who are skilled and capable. And so for Poland to sit there and go, okay, we're going to create this unit. It's volunteer. It's highly trained. It's very capable. It's going to be properly equipped. You won't have to worry about any of that. Right. And then the unit wholesale can go to Ukraine and fight and serve together. That is a world of difference. And one of the things it kind of harkens back actually to the U.S. military's World War II replacement policy, in which case you would have units who would enlist together, train together, go overseas together. But then when individuals were wounded, they would cycle back to a medical establishment, and then they would enter a depot. And that depot would simply say, okay, what are you? You're a mechanic? All right, we're not going to send you back to your old unit. We're going to send you to any unit that needs a new mechanic, right? And so the result would be that these guys who had served, again, for months, sometimes years together, would be dropped into a unit that everyone else had been together for years and they hadn't, right? And it was so bad that a lot of desertions that happened in the U.S. military in the Second World War were not actually desertions to try to get out of the fighting. They were deserters who tried to get back to their original unit and serve with their original soldiers. And so again, that's why I think this is such an interesting program, because it reflects a reality that soldiers certainly sign up to defend their country, but they stick around for each other. It's one of the things when they talk in interviews with even soldiers who served in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, right? When you climb into that vehicle, you're not thinking about, baseball and apple pie. You're climbing into that vehicle because your battle buddies need you. And if you make a stink about it, they're going to go into the fight short-handed. They're going to be a little less effective, a little less capable, a little less ready. And your obligation to them on a deeply personal basis is what keeps you in the fight. So that I thought was a really interesting perspective. And I want to talk a little bit about some updates around Volchansk and, more importantly, the Akhmat Special Forces. But before we talk about these guys, I want to mention Strike Gum. That's right, guys. Strike Gum is the zero sugar energy drink alternative. It's made in the USA, veteran owned, and best of all, is available now on Amazon. So you can pick some up. We've got our 5-pack, which is the equivalent of 25 energy drinks, because each one of these pieces has 90 milligrams of caffeine. Not in every pack, in every piece. So compared to an energy drink, right, this is the equivalent of about 5 energy drinks right here. And so, plus it's got 100 milligrams of alpha GPC and 0 sugar. So it's superior to an energy drink in every single way. So pick some up at strikegum.com. That's where you can get all the discounts. I think our 4th of July sale is still running. It may have ended yesterday, but you should definitely check it out. But there's still new customer discounts, veteran discounts, all that. That's on Strike Gum. But if you have Amazon, you can just go to Amazon and search for Strike Gum and pick some up. Thanks to everybody that's left us a review on especially Amazon. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of other stories here that are just too interesting to turn down that I couldn't really fit into their own video. One is War Mappers reporting that Ukraine has actually extensively retaken positions in and around Volchansk. You could see here is the Volchansk area where reportedly Ukraine has recently retaken, first off, a number of these areas here on the northern bank of the river. This is the Volcha, and in the eastern portion of the city, right? You could see Ukraine is moving past the Volcha and starting to push the Russians out. You guys may remember Volchansk as sort of the apex of the Russian offensive when they tried to take Kharkiv, but more importantly, that's where the Liut Brigade is fighting. And we raised over $46,000 for those guys. And it is paying real dividends, right? You see that, the tide was turned for a bunch of reasons, certainly because Russia incurred an absolutely eye-popping amount of casualties, but the brigade definitely benefited from the resources that you guys provided them. So that was pretty dope. And we're going to partner with Ukraine Aid Ops and raise money for another unit here in the next maybe month or so. We're still working out the details. But here's what I thought was even more interesting, right? Is that the Akhmat Special Forces, these are the Chechens, right? Seems like a mill blogger, right, talked some shit on them, criticizing the Akhmat forces, saying that they were, quote, standing behind conscripts in Belgorod, right? This is in the Volchansk region. And now what's fascinating is ISW says that, he was insinuating that the Chechen forces are not contributing to Russian offensive operations around Kharkiv. When I hear that, as we talked about, I hear him saying, no, Akhmat forces are standing behind the conscripts because they are blocking units, because they are tasked with shooting conscripts who attempt to flee combat. And we know that makes sense because, one, the casualties in and around Kharkiv and Volchansk are unbelievably high, scary high. And you can imagine if you're a Russian conscript or, contract soldier, that you're going to figure this out and you're going to want to turn around. Akhmat forces are perfect for barrier units because they're simply culturally distinct. They don't have as much common identification with Russian conscripts, right? And so because of that, they're less likely to protest when they're ordered to shoot them for abandoning their duty to do their one-way charges. It all sounds correct, but apparently the Akhmat Special Forces guys did not take kindly to having shit talked about them on the internet. In fact, they tracked the guy down, and then in a video with the Akhmat commander, the mill blogger said, "I'm so sorry. Oh, you guys are totally on the front lines. You're totally fighting." And that while Russian military command has incurred significant losses and no progress around Volchansk, he still just said, "I'm so sorry" to the Akhmat forces. Now, you guys know the Chechens don't play around. And again, if they're willing to shoot Russian conscripts, they'll definitely shoot a mill blogger. So when they show up at your doorstep and demand an apology, it's just the right call to do it. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. A huge thank you to the Colonel tier members, James Jerling, Steve Moran, Doug Beck, Alan Knudsen, Bastian Hemmerling, and Yanko Georgiev, among others. And thanks to our Lieutenant tier members. I could not do this without you guys. It really makes a huge difference, and I will see all you guys in the next one. Cheers.